Going to turn our attention to rugby now, and Quinlan joins us this morning. Nice weather for a training camp. It's grand weather. It's not like the proper broiling heat that they had last year, but the World Cup starts today for the Ireland team.
Today, yeah,
really.
Joe Smith's squad are back together in Carton House, so the preparation for the coaches, the preparations have started probably 2 months ago, 3 months ago, as regards, you know, getting ready for the plan and the structure over the summer. I know they would have had the schedule there for a long time, but for the players, it's back to the grind. 3 weeks off, and I think psychologically it's a short little break. They'll go back for 2 weeks, then they get another week off, and to try and recharge the batteries again. And rather than giving the players 4 weeks off, and then so they'll do 2 hard weeks now. It'll be all fitness based and strength. They'll be trying to build that platform, the strength they're trying to build up for the next couple of weeks. But it's exciting if you're in that 44 and that the intrigue of when that squad will be narrowed down.
Yeah, because this squad's a good squad to be in, but the real squad to be in is the one that's actually on the
one that's there. And if you look at the names, like who's in there that can kind of jump out and maybe grab hold of a place in the starting team. I suppose, look, first and foremost, any name down that list, they just want to make sure that their name is called out for that World Cup squad.
And I'm looking at Sean Cronin and I'm thinking, you know, he played really well when he went back to Leinster at the end of the season, and to the rest of the world it seems like he should be always on the bench for Ireland because he's one of the best impact players.
Yeah.
And yet, when he had his chance to start, it didn't work out for him, and Joe Schmidt has not always been his biggest fan. You know, what happened down in Australia happened down in Australia, and like he didn't get to play. So you're just, I'd be worried if I was him.
It was the Italian game in Rome where some of the throws went astray, and I said it at the time. It wasn't all Sean Cronin's fault. The hooker gets blamed a lot, but it's where the ball was called in the line out. And the forwards know that themselves, because if the line-out caller calls in a bad area and someone, you know, gets a hand to or the throw is a little bit shorter, you've put added pressure on the hooker. You know, so it's more than just a hooker, but that didn't go well for him that game, and he got a bit of flack for that. But look, he's an exceptional player. The impact and his ability to carry a ball around the field is second to none. He's probably one of the best in the world at doing that. And he's under pressure. Niall Scannell is there. Rory Best is obviously, he's captain. He's going to go. And there's pressure on there, you know, for Sean Cronin. But there's pressure on for a lot of guys. When you look at the squad, you're trying to think who, like someone like Dave Kearney could impress in pre-season and actually make a real fist of it to get into a squad. You know, someone who's been delivered before and been really good for Ireland, has had massive trouble with injuries. He's someone who could have a brilliant pre-season. So there's guys here who could play their way in, play their way out, but there's a lot of good names and a lot of guys who played in the last number of years that could either play their way in or play their way out of the squad.
How intense does it get between the inter-squad rivalry in terms of actually trying to get that seat on the plane?
It'll be intense because, and that's exactly the environment you want. You want no one slackening off and thinking that they're bulletproof and that they're on that plane. Rob Herring's the other hooker from Ulster. He was brilliant in Australia last year when he got the chance. Someone like Jack McGrath, you know, what's he thinking? It's been, you know, up and down for him with Leinster and Ireland the last kind of year or two since he came back from the Lions. So Tommy O'Donnell is another one. And I said this a couple of weeks ago that if he has a really good pre-season with no injuries and he makes an impact in training, because you're talking about the intensity on, they'll be going at each other. Not straight away, because these first couple of weeks are probably trying to build the fitness. There'll be some ball work and skills probably built in and walkthroughs, and you know, they'll have lots of meetings about how they want to play but I think the first couple of weeks is about building a bit of strength and fitness. But when the rugby boots go on and they're going out on the field, the intensity will be high, because, and that's exactly what Simon Eastwood want, particularly for the forwards. They'll want them to go at each other, scrums, lineouts, and you know, that's the intensity you want, and you want to try and keep it really competitive and keep people guessing right up to the time the squad is announced.
there's a 31-man squad who are going to make the cut eventually, so 13 players won't be going from this. Is there any possibility, if you're not in this squad, that you could end up playing some role in the World Cup?
For sure. There's going to be a couple of injuries. There always is. The World Cup warm-ups in August, so guys may pull up in training. You know, it's the unfortunate nature of World Cups. Any World Cup squad I've been in, there's always been one or two who've unfortunately got injured in the warm-ups, and that's just it. So you can't really switch off. There's a lot of good names. It's hard to even pick guys. If you were trying to pick the 31 there, but it's difficult. But try and pick the guys who are not going to make it is quite difficult as well. There's a lot of, look, obviously there's a lot of the big players who will go straight onto your list.
Assuming they're fit, yeah.
Yeah, assuming they're fit, but they've got to train and play well. But given it on the back of the Six Nations, which was disappointing, and I think, you know, you pick on, obviously Joe will pick players who've delivered in the last number of years, but there could be one or two that might get a bit of a surprise, and they're the ones who've probably got to deliver over the pre-season as well.
You often talk about, we all talk about the idea of who are going to be the bolters for a World Cup squad. If you flip that a little bit, who are the ones that are in most danger here?
Jeez, that's a hard question. I think Rory Best has to play well over the summer, or not play well, but train well and look sharp, and he's your captain.
He's got to hit some, whatever his baseline fitness markers have been over the last decades.
Rory works incredibly hard. He won't mind me saying it, but I think everyone really on in there, like Conor Murray, Johnny Sexton, they've got to show good form. But you know what? Pre-season is also a great time to psychologically kind of clear out the baggage and bring in the excitement and the intrigue of what's ahead.
How easy is that on a year like this, though? Because it seems like the season has just finished. They've had a couple of weeks off and they're back into it today. So is it easy to hit reset and not have that baggage?
Well, look, it's not easy to completely get rid of it, because it'll be in the back of their minds. But the more you train well, get good fitness scores, you start preparing well in training, things start to click, the ball stays up, it's not being dropped, you know, you get into the flow and the rhythm, you start to build that bit of belief and confidence. There's some world-class players, lots of world-class players in that group who've delivered massive success, and you know, they've spoken about the blip they've had in the Six Nations and dip in form for some guys individually. So it is a great opportunity, and pre-season is different because you know, you're, as I said, you're trying to build a fitness base as well as a rugby base as well. So I think they're all vulnerable. There's obviously a few guys that, you know, haven't played as well as they did in 2018, and they will still make it, and they still probably will start that first game against Scotland. But I think there's you've got to train well, and people often ask about that. What do you mean? What kind of substance or value do you put into training? But Joe does a lot, and I think it's right. And there's a few guys here, if they get their fitness scores up really high and they look really sharp, could force their way in.
In the backs, obviously, there's fewer backs and probably less wiggle room. We kind of know his first choice starting team, and we know largely who would be on the bench if everybody was fit. But then there's a few selections like so Jack Hardy was winning great praise at the end of the season. Ross Byrne is there and must be hoping that he can somehow squeeze his way in at this point. Is John Cooney the de facto? Is he on the plane because of his ability to kick? And
his ability to kick and maybe play fly half as well. So does Joe bring 3 scrum halves and 2 fly halves?
Yeah, at which point then,
you know, then Cooney can play and can sit in the bench against Russia or
South Africa. Like, that's the thing, because if you're taking that risk, you have to assume worst case scenario. Because
we must not forget, and there's been not a lot said about it, and I saw something online last night when I was looking at it. Michael Leach, the Japanese captain, is saying we can spring a big surprise to the World Cup. Well, they did one at the last World Cup where they beat South Africa,
and they weren't at home.
So I know Ireland won't underestimate him, but us, the media, the general public, you got to realise that Japanese side with loads of Aussies and Kiwis in their team who have become through residency can play for Japan, they're going to be very, very dangerous as well. So you don't want to you think the Russia game is probably, you know, you don't really know what's going to happen with Samoa either, or how good they're going to be on their day. They can be very dangerous, but I think Joe will just be thinking that first game, Scotland, get a win there, and you can build a little bit. But John Cooney is someone who gives you a bit of variety there, who can play 10 if there was an injury or if you wanted a rest.
Yeah.
Johnny Sexton, but Joey Carberry is someone who I think he after the injury and very little rugby played in the second half of the season, is someone who could really benefit from a good pre-season as well, and ignite a little bit of spark, whether he comes onto the side off the bench or possibly can be a fullback.
Right.
As well, you know, or be an option to come on there as well.
No one's ever wanted to look at that when it's fairly obvious. It seems like
he could play there. He can play in the centre. You know, your centres of Farrell, Henshaw, Bundyaki and Ringrose. You look like there's a lot of strength there. That looks a very strong position. And then, you know, there might be one or two that might challenge for the back three.
All right, and as we know, the injuries is the other thing that is going to happen. Some of our front-ranked players will get injured because that's what happens in these training sessions.
It's attritional, and the 20s then, you know, look at the injuries that they've had in the short space of time. They play England tonight. It'll be interesting to see how that one goes. Can they get it together and beat England for the third time this season?
Well, that would
be nice.
We don't like that. Alan, good stuff. Thanks a million. We'll keep an eye on that.